Well, that was a busy night. Busy night. Another year. Another Tuesday night head-to-head. What is this, the third year in a row? We've done this a few times. And I vowed 2 years ago. I said, man, watching both shows simultaneously at the same time, not a fan. Not a fan. Last year, there was a 1 hour overlap between the two shows. But this has become a regular thing now. You could thank baseball for that, where AEW Dynamite gets bumped up by a day to Tuesday. So we get the Tuesday Night War. Ooh, the war. First time that we've had a head-to-head since last year. And this time, NXT opted to go the invasion route. Showdown, invasion, whatever you want to call it, between NXT and TNA. So they chose to do what effectively was its own little standalone event that didn't really move a whole lot forward in the way of stories, right? There was a little bit in there, but not a whole lot. It was really, in many ways, a self-contained event that, if anything, helped promote and push some of the matches at Bound for Glory this weekend, because TNA has a big pay-per-view coming up, arguably their biggest of the year, in Lowell, Massachusetts, coming up on Sunday night. So not a lot of story progression, at least on the NXT side, but what this show did have me wishing, I've been saying this for a while, I do wish that Triple H had not completely abandoned the traditional Survivor Series elimination style match at Survivor Series. Yeah, you want to do War Games, that's fine. I always thought, to retain one Survivor Series style match would be kind of cool. I didn't really see the need to completely abandon the concept. But we got two of them tonight. Two Survivor Series style elimination matches. And it was way more even tonight than it's been recently in terms of the war back and forth between TNA and NXT. In fact, when this night was over, even Steven, where both brands had 2 wins apiece, they split the baby in the elimination matches. And then the 2 championship matches, we had the title for title NXT tag team titles and TNA tag team titles. And then we had a North American championship match. Same thing. We had 1 win for the NXT side, and we have 1 win for the TNA side. So even Steven, when this night was over, which for TNA is actually very good, because you've had the NXT talents running around with their top championships now for a few months. It was about time that TNA got a little bit of shine on their side. And maybe they didn't win the night, but I thought that they did well for themselves. And, now that they've gotten this head-to-head out of the way, and the head-to-head with Dynamite, and they did this special and it's over, now we see where things go from here in terms of, for example, Ricky Saints, who just beat Obafemi to win the NXT championship. I couldn't tell you who really would be next in line for a shot at the title other than maybe Trick Williams. Trick Williams is going to lose his TNA World Heavyweight Championship to Mike Santana this Sunday. They did some stuff in the Survivor Series match tonight that made you think that Ricky and Trick would be the obvious direction. They have Halloween Havoc, which is coming up in a few weeks, and that may well be the first challenger for Ricky Saints. Because otherwise, I don't know. I mean, there's no obvious other challenger for him. And where Obafemi disappeared to, I don't know. I said it was kind of strange when he was putting his team together that he wouldn't want Oba on his team. But maybe that's a sign that Oba is main roster bound sooner rather than later. So he was not on the show tonight. I enjoyed the NXT show. I thought that, the matches for the most part were all good. There was some sloppiness in the women's Survivor Series match. The match of the night on either show, best match of the entire night, North American Championship match, Ethan Page, Mustafa Ali. Fucking great match. And Ali, when he was let go a couple of years ago by WWE, it was a head scratcher because of the timing of it. He was in the middle of a North American Championship feud with Dominic Mysterio. He was going to win the North American Championship before they cut him. It was just bizarre, the timing of it. Even Shawn Michaels was very frustrated by that because he had big plans for Ali. So we knew back then that Ali was a talented guy. And since he left, when he sort of constructed this character, which was something he wanted to do in NXT, they just never allowed him to do so. Actually, he wanted to do it on the main roster, and Vince wouldn't let him. But this time away from WWE, has done him well. He's gone out there and he just hasn't just had killer matches, but he's been able to really flesh out this persona that he has. So the time away from WWE, I think, has done him good. But if there was one takeaway from me watching him in the ring tonight, and I see it all the time, whenever I see him in the ring, but WWE needs to bring him back at the earliest opportunity that they have. We hear about Joe Hendry is WWE bound, and I'm sure he is, and as well he should be. And I think there's money to be made with Joe Hendry. But if you're going to say someone like Joe Hendry is WWE bound, you can't tell me that someone like Ali, would not fit like a glove in terms of either the main roster or NXT and working with a lot of the talents that they have. So he went out there tonight and bumped his ass off. He worked his ass off. So did Ethan Page. I love that match. Like I said, best match on either show of the entire night. So I enjoyed the NXT show. The AEW show I thought was good as well. If I had to choose between which one I enjoyed more, I would go with the NXT show. The AEW show was a little bit longer. It was 2.5 hours also tonight. But I thought that, there were 3 good matches on the AEW show, including we had a TNT Championship match between the 2 Kyles. Not that there was any drama whatsoever. I mean, from the moment the match was announced, there was no doubt about how this was going to go. We had Kyle Fletcher against Kyle O'Reilly. The main event with Orange Cassidy and Pac. All right, 2 familiar rivals. We've seen them in the ring many times way back in the past. So they kind of picked up where they left off. I thought up until the stuff, it was really post-match, the goofy stuff with Darby. But they had a good match, in the main event. So I enjoyed that. And the tag team match between Brodito and Takeshita and Okada. It was actually a double Jeopardy eliminator match. So the AEW tag team titles were not on the line. And Bandito, I don't know. I don't know if it's a legitimate injury or not. I'm not sure if this supposed injury that he sustained at Arena Mexico is an injury or just something they manufactured to kind of work into the story of the match. I'll assume it's legit, unless I read otherwise. But he went out there, his shoulder was all taped up or wrapped up, and they still had a really good match, but it was really just a kind of an appetizer for what these 4 men are going to be able to do at Wrestle Dream. Heels got the win. They're going to get a tag team championship match in a few weeks. So that was the best match on the Dynamite show. Everything else to me was, it was fine. It was okay. It was just kind of there. But I thought overall it was a good night of wrestling. I enjoyed myself for the most part. A little too much watching both shows at the same time and trying to tune into what's being said in this promo while this match is going on. And I have Booker T on commentary going, "Oh yeah!" I'm listening to Booker as I'm trying to see what's going on over here. But I thought overall it was, for the most part, an enjoyable night of wrestling. And we'll talk about it all. This is your Super Tuesday review. We're talking AEW Dynamite. We're talking NXT TNA Showdown. I am the Solomonster. It is Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open as well. Abusika says, Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost.
Oh boy.
Oh my.
He's back.
Goodness. Oh my.
He was with us last night, the ghost. He was with us last night. That was from Bobbert Reviews. And he was actually back again tonight. So the ghost is key. The ghost is very excited. Thank you. Ghost is very excited. Brandon Proctor also having some fun tonight. Boy, we heard that a lot last night, didn't we? Yeah, I got to say thank you. We had fun last night on the Raw review. Of course, it was my birthday. I appreciate all the birthday wishes even today. I got some very nice messages. So it was a lot of fun. We went over 3 hours last night. So it was a long night, but it was a fun night. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So here's what we're going to do, because I am reviewing both shows here. Normally, it would just be Dynamite. Normally, I wouldn't be live on this channel on Tuesday night, so everything's sort of turned upside down. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with, as you can see, we're going to start with NXT. And I'm going to talk about this NXT TNA show. And then at the conclusion of that, we will switch over to AEW Dynamite. And we will run through that show. So NXT won the coin toss, so that is what we are going to begin with here. Now they opened the show, little video package showing some old highlights from the early days of NXT, the early days of, really it was NWA TNA. They had some old school footage in there. And they kicked things off with the title for title match. It was Matt and Jeff Hardy, the reigning TNA Tag Team Champions, taking on the reigning NXT Tag Team Champions, DarkState. And again, both titles on the line, so who would walk out as double champion? Or would we get some sort of bullshit draw finish? And they all get to keep their belts. See, that would have been a very lame way to open the show. I already figured the Hardys were winning. They were my pick to win. Once I saw they were opening the show with this, I knew. I just knew, because you want to open the show in a hot way, especially on a night where you're head to head with another show, and you're going to open the show with this. You want to get things started on the right foot. And the way to do that is not to have fucking DarkState beating the Hardys to win the, TNA tag team titles, which was just never going to happen. So they showed TNA president Carlos Silva. He was in the crowd. That new TV deal announcement could come at any week now. And they could very well end up on this network that NXT is airing on right now. In fact, if you were to ask me who do I think is the favorite, CW would probably be the favorite. I mean, that's what the rumors were a few months ago. CW, A&E. I could absolutely see WWE assisting, providing the assist in helping TNA get a new TV deal with the CW, and I could see them moving Impact from Thursdays to Wednesdays, just to drive the knife in just a little bit, right in the side. That's what I'm expecting. But we'll know soon enough, because Carlos Silva has said that whatever this deal is going to be, he wants it to kick off the beginning of 2026. So we're going to find out very soon. But that would be a nice little fuck you, wouldn't it? Don't think they wouldn't do it. If they have any influence over these negotiations whatsoever, don't think they wouldn't love that. So all the members of DarkState, they pounced before the match even began, and the Hardys just dumped them all. Then the referee ejected all of the DarkState members that were not a part of this match. They showed the Dudley Boys. They were watching in the crowd. The Dudleys and the Hardys are having a tables match at Bound for Glory this Sunday. The final ever match between the Hardys and the Dudleys, because Devon Dudley has said that this is going to be his final match. That's what he claims. So they were watching on very intently in the crowd. DarkState had the advantage going into the first break. They were working over Jeff coming out of that break. Jeff fended off both members, hit him with a whisper in the wind. Matt caught the hot tag. He hit Dion Lennox with a side effect. Osiris Griffin, he blocked a twist of fate. Matt, though, adjusted into a DDT. So Matt and Jeff, they hit Dion with the plot twist. And Griffin broke up Matt's pin attempt. Griffin then dumped Jeff out to the floor, put Matt up in an electric chair position. Matt was able to fight out of it. And he hit Griffin with a twist of fate. Then he hit Dion with a twist of fate. And then Jeff tagged in. He hit Dion with the Swanton Bomb to win the NXT Tag Team Championship. First time in their career that the Hardys can say that. And I thought the match, it was fun enough. The crowd was obviously excited to be able to see the Hardys. And they were even more excited to see the Hardys actually win the titles. So they popped huge for the finish. The match itself was a very basic match. Solid stuff. Nothing blow away or anything like that. You pretty much know what you're going to get at this stage of the game. The Hardys are smart. They do what they need to do, because the crowd pops for all of the greatest hits. The Whisper in the Wind, or the Poetry in Motion, or the Side Effect, or the Swanton Bomb. And, DarkState, they're still very young. Do they have a bright future? Well, time will tell. Maybe individually, not collectively as a group. Individually, they've got some talented guys in that crew. But there was no way they were beating the Hardys here. They just weren't. So, the match was fine. Big moment there at the finish. And look, TNA, this was long overdue. TNA needed to get one over on NXT. TNA lost their world championship to NXT. TNA lost their Knockouts championship to NXT twice. First to Jacy Jayne, and now Kelani Jordan. At what point does TNA get something out of this, right? They had to. You had 2 championships on the line tonight, and it didn't feel like the North American title was going to be changing hands. You got the Hardys, who basically, I mean, look, most people hear the Hardys. Who do they associate the Hardys with, right? WWE. Who's the safest choice? If you go to put your NXT Tag Team Championships or any NXT Championship on anybody, the Hardys, pretty safe bet. So now it's very interesting because the Hardys now have the TNA Tag Team Championships. They have the NXT Tag Team Championships. And I will not be streaming on Friday night. I will not be here for SmackDown on Friday because I will be at the House of Glory show. And it just so happens that one of the big matches on the House of Glory show this Friday is title for title. This will be the Hardys' second title for title match in the same week. They're putting their TNA tag team titles on the line against Main Event, the HOG tag team champions, Jay Lion, Midas Black. They are walking into the NYC arena as the TNA and NXT tag team champions. They may very well leave New York on Friday night with 3 sets of tag team titles. It'd be very interesting. See what happens here. The new belt collectors, it looks like. It could happen. It could very well happen. It certainly makes things a little more interesting now come Friday night. Can they repeat what they did tonight? We'll see. Jordan Grace. Oh, Mr. Rod. Mr. Rod, I think I lost 3 years off my life. Thank you for the $20. Rhea is not amused. Rhea is not amused. Oh, my God. Oh, Asuka. So Jordan Grace was in the ring to officiate the next match because she was the special guest referee for our first of 2 Survivor Series style elimination matches here on this show. Vic Joseph's wife, Mackenzie Mitchell, who has worked for TNA for a while now, she handled the ring announcing here for this match. It was Team TNA, captained by the Knockouts champion, Kelani Jordan, with the Inspiration, the former Iconics, and Mara Sade, the former Jakara Jackson. All former WWE or NXT talents, or current. Kelani Jordan is currently an NXT talent, but she's leading Team TNA. They took on Team NXT, captained by Jacy Jayne, the NXT Women's Champion, along with Lola Vice, Jaida Parker, and Sol Ruca. Now, all 8 women entered the ring. They traded hands. The Inspiration hit Lola and Jaida with crossbodies. Sade hit Jacy Jayne with a suicide dive. Kelani Jordan hit the pile of wrestlers outside with a big moonsault. This was Tiffany Stratton-esque. She over-rotated on this moonsault and looked like she smacked the back of her head on the floor, just like Tiffany did on SmackDown a few weeks ago. And it was the same move that had Tiffany in concussion protocol for about a week. So we had Sol Ruca hit the pile of wrestlers immediately after that with a front flip into a Fosbury flop out over the top rope, lands on her feet. Very impressive. And that takes us into a break. So Team TNA, they cut the ring in half on Sol. Ruca reversed a double suplex from the Inspiration into a double DDT. Sade and Parker, they tagged in with Parker dominating here. She tackled both Inspiration members in the corner and then stacked them on the middle turnbuckle. And Jaida then hit both of them with the draping bonsai drop. And at this point in the match here, Mara Sade, she went up for a moonsault to Jaida Parker. That was the idea. She hit the moonsault. Unfortunately for her, what she hit was not Jaida Parker. What she hit was the canvas. She went just a little past her and got nothing but just the mat. She ate the mat. Completely missed on the moonsault. So then Jaida hit Sade. Now, I will say, though, at least Sade, she sold it. Right? She realized, okay, I fucked up, but I just hit this moonsault. Nobody was home, so let me at least sell it. Right? Unlike what Kelani Jordan did when she was in that match. Who'd she wrestle? Who the hell did she wrestle at Victory Road? Lee, was it Lee? Yeah, it was the former Xia Li. Li Ying Li. They had a botch move during the match. She was doing a Rana off the apron. She got powerbombed instead, hard on the floor outside. Pops right back up like nothing ever happened because it wasn't meant to happen. That's why I say fucking sell it. So at least she sold it. Jaida hit Sade with a suplex. Kelani broke up the pin with a splash. Jaida dumped Cassie Lee of the Inspiration to ringside. Mara then rolled up Jaida for the first elimination of the match. And while Sade was celebrating, she took her eye off the ball, and Ruca comes into the ring, and she drops her with a soul snatcher, picks up the second elimination of the match. Mara Sade, thanks for coming. Team TNA was cutting the ring in half on Jacy Jayne when they came back from the commercial. Lola Vice caught the hot tag. She took down the TNA team with some taekwondo kicks. Lola hit Jordan and Jessie McKay with her ass smashes. I don't know how else to say it. She smashes people with her ass. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I mean that's what she did. So Vice hit Jordan with a Saito suplex, and then Lola hit Lee with a spinning back fist to eliminate her. So then McKay, she tapped out to Lola's rear naked choke, and now Team TNA was in a bad spot. Team TNA was down 3-1. The only person remaining for Team TNA was the NXT star. It was the TNA Knockouts champion who happens to be a member of the NXT roster. And that was Kelani Jordan. So Jordan hit Jayne with her one-of-a-kind split-legged moonsault. Problem is, Jordan Grace was occupied. She was distracted by all of the brawling that was taking place at ringside involving the Inspiration, who had been eliminated. So Jordan ended up getting a 2 count only once Grace returned to the ring to make the count. She wasn't very happy about that. Lola tagged herself in while she was arguing with Jacy Jayne, and Jordan shoved Vice into Jayne. Jordan then hit Vice with an angle slam for the elimination. This was about 20 minutes into the match. Ruca hit Jordan with a backpack stunner for a near fall. Sol and Kelani, they brawled to the top. Jordan hit Sol with a super Spanish fly. Ruca then used the knees to block a 450 splash, and Sol hit Jordan with a soul snatcher, but Jacy Jayne tagged herself in and she stole Sol's pin. She stole the soul. She stole her pin over Jordan to win it for Team NXT. A few sloppy moments here in this match. And Jordan Grace honestly ended up being not much of a factor outside of that one spot. She pretty much played it straight, the entire time. Otherwise, a pretty solid showcase, I think, for a lot of the women here in this match. And they gave them time. They gave them over 20 minutes, which they should, for a Survivor Series style match. You don't give a match like that 12 minutes. So I felt like they gave it the time that it needed. They didn't rush through it. And so it was, solid for what it was meant to be. I don't think it was the stronger of the two elimination matches they did, but it was fine. Now, the NXT team wins. Let's be honest here, okay? They had this thing won before the bell even rang. They had this thing won from the moment that it was announced because there wasn't a single TNA original representing Team TNA. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. Like the NXT team, or rather the NXT champion, Jacy Jayne, makes sense, right? Leading her team. Kelani Jordan is an NXT star who's the TNA Knockouts champion. Okay, fine. But to not have even that one person on that team, the problem is, and I mentioned this the other day, when I look through the roster on the TNA roster page, if you're looking for someone who has a name of some description, because there are a few people on the roster who are, TNA originals that have not been in WWE that you could have gone with, but nobody would really care, right? In a situation like this, you're supposed to be picking the best of the best. That's why I said with the men, like, why wouldn't Ricky Saints want Obafemi on his team, right? But so I'm looking at the roster, though, and the only people that would really fit the bill, who would make sense to have been on Team TNA in this match, are two people who were never going to be on Team TNA. Tessa Blanchard and Masha Slamovich. I mean, almost everybody else with any sort of name has spent most of their time previously in NXT or the WWE main roster. But it's just sad, that they didn't have at least that one TNA original. Like on the men's side, Frankie Kazarian, was on Team TNA. He's been there forever. Yeah, obviously he left and he was in AEW, but he goes back in TNA to like the mid 2000s, right? So it kind of makes sense that you would want somebody like that to be on that team. They didn't have that here, which is kind of crazy if you think about it, because TNA is known also for the Knockouts division. Think they could find one. In the back, Matt Cardona was chatting with the NXT general manager, Ava. Ava berated him for interfering in the Josh Briggs Myles Borne match last week. And Cardona said that he only wanted to help out TNA, even though he couldn't be on the team. He wasn't chosen to be on the team. He said that he's always ready. So Briggs barged into the room, and Cardona, before he came in, quickly hid behind the door. So Briggs had no idea that Cardona was in the room, and he actually was there to ask for the same thing that Cardona had just asked for, because Cardona was interested in a match with Josh Briggs. Well, Briggs barges in and he sees Ava and he demands a match with Matt Cardona. And Ava says, well, I think we can make that happen next week. And Briggs says, great. And he exits, never knowing that Cardona was right behind him in the room. And Cardona thanked Ava and said that he likes how they do things in NXT. He's always ready. He better be ready on Friday. We got Cardona in House of Glory against Killer Kross. He better be ready. He may not make it to the match with Josh Briggs next week, depending on how this match goes with Kross on Friday night. Then we had the match of the night. We had Ethan Page defending the NXT North American Championship against the man who should have been and would have been the North American champion had things gone a little bit differently 2 years ago, Mustafa Ali, representing TNA. I talked about this on the podcast this weekend. I really, really liked the promo last week that Ali cut on Page, and specifically the fact that they had him bring up that very real fact that 2 years ago, he had a match that was due to him. He was owed a North American Championship match. He was supposed to wrestle Dirty Dom, and the match never happened. So now he's back. Here's his opportunity to cash in on the match that he was supposed to get that he never did. Makes sense. I like the fact that they went with that callback and they had him in the ring and just some of the other things he was saying also. I just thought it was a really good promo. And this match here, I was not expecting a title change, but I don't think you could look at this match and say, well, the finish was preordained. I already knew coming in for sure who was going to win this match, right? Believe me, we saw some championship matches tonight on either show where the outcome was never in doubt, especially on Dynamite, let's be honest. The 2 title matches on a Title Tuesday show were as predictable as fuck. Okay, nobody in their right mind thought that those matches were going to end any differently than they did. I don't think you could say that about this match. And to the credit of both these men, the deeper into the match they went and some of the near falls, there's some great near falls here. They even had me biting on them, believing that maybe they would pull off a title change here. So midway through, they ended up on the top turnbuckle. And Page tried a superplex. Ali knocked him off, and when Page tried it again, he hit a sunset powerbomb from the top rope. He went up top again. Page, though, hit the ropes, which knocked Ali onto the turnbuckle. And Page, at that point, he went for a backbreaker over the turnbuckle, but Ali blocked it. So Page settled for a snake eyes on the top. I mean, he just dropped him down on that top turnbuckle for snake eyes. Hit a super kick for 2. Ali collapsed after he kicked out of the pin, and Page started talking some shit. Now he's starting to feel himself here. He's getting all cocky. Page went for the ego's edge. Ali wormed out of it, clapped his ears. Ali hit a tornado DDT out of the corner, dragged Page to the corner. He went up top for a 450 splash. Page got out of the way, though. Then he delivered a kick to Ali's head on the way down. Page tried for the ego's edge again, but Ali countered with a Hurricane Rana. Ali ducked 2 clotheslines and he went for a springboard. Page, though, caught him, and he tried for his twisted grin finish. Ali worked out of it, and Ali sent Page outside with a head scissor and then hit a wild dive. This was a very wild dive. He came flying through the ropes. He collided with Page, and the momentum sent both of them just hurtling over the announce desk. Just this wild sequence here. Ali then pulled Page back into the ring. He went up top. His foot, though, was caught up. I don't know if it was the microphone cable or probably a camera cable, but some sort of long wire was wrapped around his foot. And at first I was like, does he not realize that there's a fucking wire around his foot? But then I realized that, it was part of what they were going for here. So as he was trying to free himself from the camera cord, he got shoved backwards. Page got up and he gave him a hard shove. And Ali took this hellacious bump off the top rope, flying backwards, and he hit the barricade on the way down. Just a hellacious bump. It looked great. I wouldn't want to take it. But it looked devastating here. And Page tossed Ali back into the ring, and he hit Twisted Grin to get the pin and retain the championship. Ali worked the match as the de facto babyface here, which he was always, against Ethan Page, he was always going to be. But he also worked his fucking ass off. And I don't say that as if, he doesn't work his ass off normally, because of course he does. But it just highlights what a dumb move it was to cut this guy. It was dumb enough to cut him in the middle of a storyline and not at least wrap that up first. But he's immensely talented. And I think he has shown that he absolutely could have been a much bigger part of the show than he was, not just in NXT, but on the main roster. And the fact that they cut him and they let him go was just very dumb. He's very talented. I think he is one of the best sellers and bump takers in all of wrestling right now. Just everything he does, when that bell rings, everything he does, it's so smooth. It looks great. And he just has a knack, especially on those near falls, for really, convincing the people, and he could do babyface, he could do heel, either way. Again, here he was sort of the de facto babyface. And I don't say that also to take anything away from Ethan Page. Ethan Page has had some really great matches himself this year. This is why he left AEW. He felt like he wasn't getting anywhere. He didn't see any upward mobility for himself. And he bet on himself. He had a guaranteed gig there, I'm sure. And he's like, you know what? I'm not happy here. I need to leave. And look at the position that he's in right now. Shawn Michaels clearly thinks the world of him, puts a lot of trust in him. And I think he will do well on the main roster. I think that in a way that I didn't when he first came to WWE. But I think this run that he has had in NXT has done wonders for elevating and raising his stock. So credit to him too. It takes two to tango. He went out there. Ali went out there. This was excellent stuff. And they got me to buy into some of those near falls there near the end. Even though in my mind, I knew that Ali wasn't going to win the championship. But then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's when you could tell. Like, these guys were really doing their job. So they had even me convinced, a couple times there late in that match. Great stuff. The NXT women's team was celebrating backstage. Zarya showed up. She wanted to talk with her tag team partner, Sol Ruca, who said that they're going to be the women's tag team champions soon. Zarya was acting as if she was still bothered. Like, oh, I see you're celebrating with your new friends. And Sol was like, I thought we talked about this. I thought everything was cool. So then Blake Monroe shows up. And she said that Sol is greedy like Jordan Grace for wanting 3 championships. Because right now she has 2. That's right, she does. She has the Speed title. She has the women. It was the Women's North American Championship. You got to spread some of that love around. I mean, you can't hog up all the championships. I mean, what does she think she is here? The belt collector? Who does she think she is? We already have one of those. So anyway, Zarya said that she's not falling for her stirring the pot. And Blake said that she's just going after championships. And she smirked. She said she wonders how long Zarya and Sol's friendship will last. Elsewhere in the back, we heard from El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. He was interviewed about his issues with Ethan Page, which is really the main reason I figured Ethan was not losing that championship tonight. So they were interrupted by Lexis King, who accused him of being Tavion Heights. Because Tavion Heights had been under, I think he was under a Dr. Wagner mask last week or the week before. So Lexis was convinced, it's Tavion Heights, even though it looked nothing like him. So then, of course, Tavion Heights appeared behind him. King turned around, thought that he was playing some voodoo here. Whatever. This is one of those little NXT storylines here that I'm not tuned into the show tonight for this. So we'll move on. They closed the show. This is it right here. Main event. Easy 2 hours here. The main event was the other Survivor Series style elimination match with Team NXT, captained by Ricky Saints, the NXT champion, with Trick Williams, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, who they did not want on Team TNA because they do not trust this man. And they were right. You watch what happened here in this match. Trick Williams, Myles Borne, and Javon Evans. They took on Team TNA, captained by Mike Santana, with Frankie Kazarian, the reigning TNA International Champion, Moose, and Leon Slater, the reigning X Division Champion. Joe Hendry was the special guest referee for this match, and boy, was he a non-factor on this show. But he was, hey, got to get him on the show in some way, so this was their idea to get him on the show. Vic Joseph noted that Kazarian had teamed with his broadcast partner Booker T when Booker was in TNA, and Booker noted that Kazarian was just a kid back then. See, that's a polite way of saying he's old. All 8 men stormed the ring to trade hands. Borne dumped Kazarian to ringside at the very end and then hit the pile of wrestlers outside with a flip dive. Back inside, Borne hit a flipping neckbreaker, but he walked into a slingshot cutter to give Kazarian the first elimination of the match. We were 2 minutes into this. Talk about non-factors. And thanks for coming, Myles Borne. I don't feel too badly, though, for Myles Borne. Myles Borne gets to go home to Stephanie Vicaire every night. So I can't have too much sympathy for this man. So Kazarian worked over Javon Evans, and he was getting mad at Joe Hendry's count. We got a brief face-off between Santana and Trick Williams, who tagged in as the legal men. They're going to be in the main event of Bound for Glory this Sunday. Trick, though, tagged Evans instead. He was not interested in going toe-to-toe just yet with Mike Santana. So Evans is up with the flip dive. Moose, though, pulled him out of the air. There was a Hurricane Rana that sent Moose flying, but Slater rolled Evans up for the surprise pin. So that was the second elimination of this match, and Javon Evans was stunned that he got beat by Leon Slater, which is another match that's coming up soon as well, I believe on Sunday, and that match is going to be ridiculous. That match is going to be ridiculous. Of course, Leon Slater first has to get past the Amazing Red this Friday. He gets past him, then he's got to deal with Javon Evans. You know, Amazing Red knows a thing or two about the X Division. He's kind of been there, done that before. You know, when Slater won the X Division Championship at Slammiversary, and AJ Styles came out and put him over, right, in that major way on the mic, the person that he replaced as the youngest X Division champion of all time was the Amazing Red. So there is that connection there between the two of them. So Evans was gone, and that meant that Team NXT was now down to 2, Ricky Saints and Trick Williams. So Slater and Kazarian, they double team Williams. He started fighting back. Kazarian, though, put him back down with a high kick. He began stomping on Williams and hanging him upside down in the ropes. Moose tagged in, and he charged. Williams, though, was able to dodge it, and he went for a tag to Ricky Saints. Kazarian, though, he ran over and he pulled Saints off the apron. So when Trick got to his corner, there was no Ricky Saints. There was nobody to tag. So Moose took advantage. Williams, though, hit a back cutter. Saints got back up on the apron. He tagged himself in to take on Leon Slater. Saints hit a Falcon Arrow. Slater kicked out at 2. Saints went to the ropes. Kazarian hit him in the back, though, giving Slater a chance to hit his Utopia Slam. Saints went to go tag in Trick, right? He needed the assist. He's crawling towards his corner. And what does Trick Williams do? The TNA World Heavyweight Champion drops down from the apron. He pulls a Sid. And he jumps down, refuses the tag, and Williams left his partner all alone to fend for himself against all 4 members of Team TNA. He pulled a Bad News Brown. He deserted his partner. He said, fuck this, I'm out of here. See, this is why Santino Marella said that he can't be trusted. So Kazarian put on a rear naked choke. He tried to transition into a crossface. Saints, though, rolled it over, and he pinned him to get the first elimination for Team TNA, or of a member of Team TNA. So Slater then dove in to try to finish off Ricky Saints. Saints, though, kicked out. Slater went up top for a swanton. Saints, though, got his knees up, and he turned Slater over for a quick pin and the second elimination of a member of Team TNA. This man is he's doing it all by himself. So now he has narrowed the gap. Now it's 2-on-1. Before it was 4-on-1. Now it's 2-on-1. Moose was in next. He went for a power bomb. Saints, though, reversed it into a DDT. He went for the pin. Santana broke it up. And Santana started throwing some hands at Ricky, sent him staggering into the corner. Santana went for a power bomb, but Saints flipped out of it. He delivered a super kick. Moose went for a spear. Saints, though, dodged it, and he hit Santana instead. Santana then shoved Saints into Moose after he recovered. Moose hit a power bomb, and then Santana finished him off with the spin the block discus lariat to win it for Team TNA and give himself some momentum going into the main event of Bound for Glory this weekend. It had to happen. It had to happen. You could not well go into this show and have 2 elimination matches and have the NXT team win in both of those matches. I mean, you may as well just shovel the fucking dirt on the grave. Okay, you couldn't do that. You either had to give both of them to TNA and shock the world because, NXT could afford it, or, like I said, split the baby, and that's what they did tonight. They gave Team NXT the win on the women's side. They gave Team TNA the win on the men's side, right? Nice and clean, even Steven. It had to happen. Once the women won at the beginning of the show, it had to happen this way. And as far as what they did with Trick, what they did here was they used that as a way to protect Ricky Saints. Ricky just beat Obafemi, the most dominant champion that they've had in NXT in a very long time, and hasn't even defended his title on a PLE yet. And so this was their way of protecting him if he was going to take the loss to the TNA crew. Why did he lose? Because his partner deserted him. His partner deserted him, and still he was able to manage 2 eliminations by himself, but that was all he could muster. He valiantly fought back. It just wasn't enough. So they did what they could to protect their champion. But like with Jordan Grace in the women's match, Joe Hendry ended up being virtually a non-factor here, outside of a little minor spat here and there. It was just a way to get the 2 of them on the show. I thought there would be more of a storyline, reason for them to be there. And it didn't really turn out that way. So Santana now goes into this main event on Sunday at Bound for Glory. He is wrestling Trick Williams. They're going to be in Lowell, Massachusetts. When they were in New York, Santana's backyard in July, they had the chance to put the championship on him. They did not do it. My only hope is that when he wins, and he must win, that championship on Sunday. Of course, we all said this about Joe Hendry last year. Not only did he lose at Slammiversary, he lost at Bound for Glory. Remember, they waited until Genesis to put the title on Joe Hendry. So it's not a slam dunk guarantee that Santana is winning on Sunday, but I'm pretty sure he's winning on Sunday. My only hope is that when he does, the reaction in Lowell is as loud and as positive and energetic and happy as it would have been in New York. Because it would have been a great, moment in front of that crowd and his friends and his family and his own, backyard. Lowell's a little bit different, but again, as long as the fans react to it. The fans want it. That's really, at the end of the day, all that matters. So that's what I hope for. I hope the crowd can match the moment on Sunday when it finally happens. Now, the show did not end there because they went to the back. Santino and Ava, the two respective authority figures, are in Ava's office, and they're congratulating each other, and Ava asks Santino to bring the Knockouts division to NXT next week because she's hosting a battle royal to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship, and Santino says that sounds great. And that's it. That's how they went off the air. A very anticlimactic way to end this show. Although I guess they did it because they just wanted to let people know that, hey, if you're into this, we're going to have more TNA people on the show next week. So tune in. Otherwise, this is kind of a lame fucking way for this show to go off the air. Not that you couldn't make some kind of announcement, but that's it. That's the big announcement for next week. So anyway, that's how the Showdown special ended. On the whole, I thought it was a fun 2 hours. I enjoyed it. Again, it was sort of this self-contained show that did more to sort of promote Bound for Glory than anything NXT is really doing outside of that Battle Royal next week. I have no idea if it's not Trick Williams. I have no idea who's next in line for Ricky Saints. And as far as who's next for Jacy Jayne, I guess we'll find out next week. I mean, if it was somebody from the Knockouts division, I don't know, who would that person be? Is there a leading candidate that we think would make sense from the TNA side to wrestle Jacy Jayne? I think they ought to be keeping it in NXT. Whether it's a Jordan Grace or someone on their own roster, it should be somebody from the NXT side. But it does make me wonder, they did that segment, if they are inviting Knockouts to be a part of this, and the Knockouts title is on an NXT talent, then they may want to swing the other way and potentially have a Knockouts talent holding the NXT Women's Championship. I just don't know who that person would be. We're obviously ruling out a couple of names who were not on the show tonight. I don't know. I don't know who that person would be. They do have Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell has a win over Tessa Blanchard. She's already got our championship. Maybe she could collect another belt. Everyone's collecting belts lately. Everyone's trying to kind of, pad their stats or run up the score. Austin says, I want Soul to take the NXT title. Brother, she's got 2 belts already. Possibly 3. She's going after the tag team titles. She doesn't need to go after the NXT Women's Championship. I actually don't want to see Sol Ruca win the NXT Women's Championship because that means it's going to prevent her from being called up sooner. I would like to see her on the main roster sooner rather than later. But she's got enough belts right now. I think she's doing okay without worrying about this one. Maybe Kyrie can be in the Battle Royal. Hey, Sidro is with us again. What's going on, Sidro? Always good to see him with us. Is the Speed title really worth anything? No, it's not. But it's still a belt. She still has a belt. So, the Speed title, no, it doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. But she gets to carry another belt around, which makes her look, like she's like a world beater. So with NXT out of the way, you know what that means. Time to flip on. Look at that. It's like magic. You like how I did that, don't you? You like how I did that? Look at this. Go back to NXT and then it's like that. It's like magic. It's unbelievable. It's the power of YouTube. It's time to talk AEW Dynamite. Title Tuesday. They were back home in Jacksonville. This is their big homecoming show. And they were at Daly's place. They opened the show with Tony Schiavone. He was in the ring to introduce the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Hangman Adam Page out to the ring, as well as his challenger for WrestleDream for the AEW World title, Samoa Joe, who is 1/3 of the AEW Trios titles because everybody has a fucking belt. And if they don't have one belt, they have two belts. If they don't have two belts, they have three belts. You know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think there's too many belts. Joe came out on stage. He was all decked out in his suit. He was flanked by the other members of the Ops, but he did not have Powerhouse Hobbs or Katsuyori Shibata come down to the ring with him. He came down by himself, and they agreed no physicality. So we weren't going to get a big pull-apart brawl or anything like that. Hangman took the mic first. And he said that there's been 6 years of AEW Dynamite, and he's won, he's lost, he's committed arson. He even dressed up one year as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Last week, he agreed to team with the Ops, but after he won the match for the team, Joe lost it and sucker punched him. And he's confused. But when Joe he was confused by this, but when Joe yelled that Page had never beaten him before, that's what it all became about. The AEW World title. And Joe saw Page with the title and he wanted it. Said Joe has been angry with himself, but Hangman didn't ask for Joe to have this opportunity due to any kicking and screaming, but rather because Page feels he owes Joe. At All In, the Ops were some of the ones that made sure the fight between him and Moxley was a fair fight, which is something that he respects. So he understood without help like that, he never would have been able to win the championship, but that's where his respect stops. He will not let Joe take that title from him. Then it was Joe's turn. And Joe said that everything Page said was absolutely true, but allow him to share some uncomfortable truths of his own. When Joe looks at Hangman, he doesn't see the pinnacle of pro wrestling, but instead he sees a pretender. Page wouldn't be the champion without the Ops, as nobody else had his back more consistently than they did. Joe was so distracted going after the Death Riders, he took his eye off the world champion. Page has this fake gratitude, which Joe provided the opportunity, just coming out to collect what he's owed. The most uncomfortable truth of all is what's standing in front of him is a fraud. And he's here to check Page, and he said that he will beat, break, and torture him. He said Hangman would get his licks in at WrestleDream, but he would choke him out and take the title from him. And at that point, Hangman piped up, and he questioned why he always has to defend himself as a champion to guys like Joe, because he's proved it when the bell rings. He accepts that with a bad neck, Joe will kick his ass for a good bit at WrestleDream, but when the match is over and Joe is flat on his back, beaten as fairly as possible, Page hopes that Joe brings the same energy for the sport and for the championship, stands up, looks Page in the eye, and accepts him as the champion of the world. A fine little verbal joust here between these two men, just to add some intensity to a world championship match that feels very, very random on this WrestleDream show. Joe always shines in these types of segments. You know, this was no different. It really was just reiterating a lot of what, we heard Joe say last week, backstage. There wasn't really any new ground broken here, but they got to hype up a match between two baby faces. So this is the way that they've chosen to do it. Again, I don't mind Joe being in a position to challenge for the championship. It's just the whole way that this came about. It just reeks of, we really don't have anything rock solid for him to be doing right now until MJF is ready to come back and announce that he's going to be cashing in his contract. I'm still thinking World's End, but we do have Full Gear. So if Full Gear is not MJF, who the hell does Hangman wrestle on that show? Callis family? I don't know. We had Jon Moxley against Tomohiro Ishii. Excalibur talked about Moxley being 2-0 against Ishii in their previous singles matches together. Ishii was absorbing some shots and ended up bleeding from the nose. Moxley floated over a brainbuster attempt, hit a few big boots until both men started popping up and no-selling, until Moxley caught Ishii with a Busaiku knee. Both men were down. Moxley was up first. He met him with a cutter for 2. And then Moxley signaled for the end. He connected on a pile driver, but Ishii has no neck. How are you going to pile drive a man with no neck? So, of course, that didn't work. That was never going to work. Moxley instead hit a curb stomp. Ishii kicked out again. So Ishii hit a forearm shot, sliding lariat. He applied a submission hold. Moxley, though, escaped. Both men were back up. Moxley hit the paradigm shift, and Ishii kicked out. So Moxley applied a rear naked choke until Ishii passed out, and that was the end of that. So they worked a 12-minute match. It felt like double. I mean, they worked a very deliberate pace for a good chunk of this. And I don't say that in a great way. I was not a huge fan of this match here. I mean, it was okay, but it was just like, can we please kind of get to the finish here? And really what it was just the momentum building win for Moxley. They're heading into the I Quit match at Wrestle Dream. You know, they want to show Moxley in there, right? He just never takes a back step. He'll take it to you, and this is what Darby can expect when they get in there at Wrestle Dream, and that's really all that this was intended to do. If I had one positive thing to say about it beyond that, it would be that normally in these Death Riders and Jon Moxley matches, not all the time, but a lot of the time, you get the expected Death Riders interference and all the bullshit, and they kept that to a minimum here. I think there was one brief spot before the commercial where Marina Shafir, I think she might have gotten briefly involved for a distraction, but that was it. So, you know, they kept like the Death Rider shenanigans to a minimum here. But I mean, look, if Moxley can't go in there and beat Ishii, then what are we doing here? Renee was backstage with the Young Bucks, who were knocking on Tony Khan's office door, begging for another money match after going broke last week. They spent all their money. They would have fit in well back in the old territory days. See, nobody taught anything about financial planning back then. Now I think they teach it to you at the Performance Center. I think that's actually something they teach them, which is very smart. Back then, you didn't have any sort of financial planning. Financial planning back then was, how much money are we going to spend this week when we go to the bar? When we go to the strip club? Do we have enough cash? So the Bucks, I think it was Nick Jackson, blew all of their money at the casino. So of course, they want Tony Khan to make a money match now. And she asked them about Jurassic Express. Matt Jackson said they'll have seats tonight to watch their match. Said they had to give up some of their sneakers to get them. Nick kept banging on the door. Tony never did come out. After this, it was Ricochet and the Gates of Agony against the Hurt Syndicate in a street fight. Ricochet and the Gates of Agony, they are the Demand. That's what they call themselves. So the Demand, they threw a bunch of weapons into the ring before the Hurt Syndicate even walked out. And they walked out in suits, which of course is great attire for a street fight. Dress shirt and tie and fucking jacket. Sure, why not? I mean, IRS wrestled in a fucking tie and suspenders, so why not? So they went at it right from the bell. The Demand swarmed MVP until Lashley made the save and brawled with Toa Leona at ringside. Ricochet was hiding underneath a set-up table, and he was ratted out by the fans as MVP dragged him out up the ramp with a snap suplex. Lashley cracked Leona with a crutch. In the ring, Shelton Benjamin slammed Bishop Khan onto a chair, and everybody fought into a pile, which allowed Ricochet to sprint down the stage and hit a somersault dive onto everybody. That took us into a commercial break. Back in the ring, Bishop hit shotgun drop kicks on everybody in his path, laid out Lashley with a slingshot crossbody and Benjamin with a Samoan drop. And Toa Leona tried to put Lashley through a table, but he slipped free. He charged for a spear, only Bishop chucked a chair at Lashley's face. That kind of stopped him in his tracks. Toa Leona beeled Lashley through the table until Ricochet and Leona placed him on another one. And Bishop did a cactus elbow through that table. Toa Leona and MVP, they smashed through the barricade. GOA, they opened the gates on Shelton Benjamin only for a 2 count. There was a third table that got set up in the ring, and they placed Benjamin on top of it. Ricochet hit a shooting star press off the top. The table didn't break. He hit a shooting star off the top, and the table did not break. It like sort of started to break and bend a little bit. It started to sink, but the table didn't break. And you could see in the background, I think it might have been Bishop, was basically telling Ricochet to go back up, to redo the spot. And I guess they just didn't hear him or whatever, because they basically just piled onto Benjamin to break the table that way. And then the table finally broke. So this was a very awkward spot here. So anyway, Benjamin came back. He low bridged Toa Leona, hit a pump knee that took out Bishop, leaving Ricochet to go at it all by himself. And a fourth table was placed in the corner as Benjamin went to go take out Bishop, but Ricochet took the bullet for him instead. As Benjamin tried a powerbomb, Bishop handed Ricochet a chair, and he hit Benjamin with it. Khan went to charge at Shelton. Lashley, though, flew in with a spear. He gave one to Ricochet and to Toa Leona as well. Outside the ring, Lashley spiked Toa Leona through a table with a spine buster. Ricochet is all by himself, 3-on-1. Benjamin hit this wild release German suplex. He just let him go, and he went flying onto or through a table, actually. And then he pinned Ricochet to win the match for the Hurt Syndicate, which honestly is what I expected. We saw what happened at All Out. The only reason the Hurt Syndicate lost is because MVP took the losing fall. Because Shelton Benjamin wasn't going to, and Bobby Lashley wasn't going to, and Tony Khan didn't want to beat them. So we'll beat MVP, right? He barely wrestles anyway. But it'll still be a win for the demand. So they run it back. Street fight rules. They get their win back. 50-50, even Steven. So now they're all knotted up at one win apiece. We have Wrestle Dream coming up. I suspect we're going to get one more match here, the tiebreaker. I don't know. I mean, they already did the street fight. So what kind of stipulation could that match have? I don't know. But it sure feels like that's where we're headed. Otherwise, it was what you would expect. It was a street fight. We got plenty of tables. If you love tables, this was the match for you. But it's just a bunch of, big guys just beating a bunch of big guys in Ricochet, beating the crap out of each other. It's exactly what it was advertised to be. Renee was backstage. She was with the Don Callis family, or I should say maybe about half the Don Callis family. This was definitely not the entire Don Callis family, and yet I should have taken a picture of this. Still, the entire screen was taken up by members. Of all the people, though, that were there, you know who wasn't there? Andrade, the man who just debuted last week. He wasn't even there. But you saw Kyle Fletcher, Rocky Romero, and Lance Archer, and Okada, and who else was there? We had Takeshita, Hechicero. I don't remember all the different members who were there. Trent Barretta was not there. I know that. Mark Davis was not there. Wardlow was not there. But Andrade was not there either. Josh Alexander was there, and Don Callis said that Alexander is going to dismantle Kota Ibushi on Collision. Tonight, Kyle O'Reilly is such a mark that he named himself after Kyle Fletcher. Rocky Romero said that Hechicero ripped Bandito's shoulder out of his socket last week at Arena Mexico, and that he is the rightful Ring of Honor world champion. Well, Don Callis said that tonight Takeshita and Okada are going to win their match, and then they're going to go on to get a tag team title match at Wrestle Dream, and they're going to become the new AEW tag team champions. So there you go. The Callis family, I saw that Santos Escobar is officially now a free agent. Oh shit, hit the deck, everybody. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Holy shit.
I was not expecting the Cody Pyro bomb here. Talk about, it's one thing to be caught off guard by Asuka. It's another thing entirely to be caught off guard by the Cody Pyro bomb. But that, my friends, I believe is Osakwe. Oh my God. That's what the O in Osakwe stands for. With a $400 super chat bomb. Holy shit. Well, we have to break into. I can't make this man wait. We got to break in to read this right now. That's right. I see all the bombs in the chat. I wanted to do this last night, but I got caught up with a script deadline. So I'm glad that you're live tonight. Happy birthday, Solo. Wishing you nothing but great memories and many blessings throughout this new year of your life. Do me a favor, one of these nights, treat yourself to a fancy dinner on me. Much love, bro. Wow, that's very kind of you, Osakwe. I will do that. Just let me know where I can send the bill, and I'm kidding. This is more than generous. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Again, I got a lot of love. We had a lot of fun hanging out last night, and heard from a lot of people today too. So I just want to say thank you. But wow, man, he just blew the whole thing up. He blew it apart right there. Solo can buy an upper level Raw ticket now. Yeah, I could sit in the nosebleeds now. When John Cena comes to Madison Square Garden, his final MSG show, maybe I can sit up in the rafters somewhere now. Thank you, Osakwe. And I see also that we just hit 10 out of 10 on that bonus goal, which means we're doing a bonus Be the Booker. Or is that going to be the one and only? Where are we on the regular goal? We're 318. We got to hit 400 at a minimum to do one round of Be the Booker usually, but we hit the bonus, so you're getting one no matter what. All right, let's get back to this. Osakwe threw me for a loop there. I hear the pyro go off. I have to take cover. But yeah, the Callis family. I was talking about the Callis family. I was going to mention Santos Escobar. So Santos Escobar, as of midnight, is a free agent. He was presented with an offer, contract offer by WWE, apparently for more money. But it's not just about money. He wanted some assurances of what they were going to do with him, and evidently they didn't give that to him. So he's a free agent now, and it's sad that my first thought is, well, I guess Don Callis just got a new family member. And you know what? I say that only half jokingly, because he very well may end up as a new member of the Don Callis family. You know, it's a very distinct possibility. We'll see where he ends up. Actually, we should try to grab him. He'd be a great get on the HOG show. We would love to get him on HOG. I've been a fan of his since the King Cuerno days in Lucha Underground. So after this, it was the reunited Jurassic Express. It was Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus against two jobbers. I think one of them was named Orion. I don't know. I think of Orion. I think of Orion's belt around the dog's neck from Men in Black. By the way, we also still have not heard from Jack Perry. We have not heard from Jack Perry on this show since Jurassic Express reunited it all out. Right? They broke up a few years ago. They went their separate ways. There was some bad blood there. And then we saw they reunited, and we saw the vignettes with him resuscitating Luchasaurus and everything. We still have not heard a fucking word from Jack Perry. I don't expect to hear anything from Luchasaurus. You know, he grunts. He doesn't really speak. You know, it's kind of like the Beast Mortos. You know, so, but Jack Perry, I know he's got the verbal skills to communicate here. And we still have not heard anything. See, I'm just going to assume until they tell us on TV that the reason they reunited is because they turned him heel and he had a failed heel run. And so they decided, well, we'll just put them back together. Didn't work out. We were doing this heel stuff with him. It didn't work out. And so we're just going to go back to the well. And that's what I will go with until I hear otherwise from Jack Perry on TV. So they showed the Young Bucks sitting in the nosebleeds with a bunch of kids. Yes, the Galaxy is on Orion's belt. That's right. The Galaxy. See, that could be a new faction name now in AEW. You know what? I like that better than the Swirl. We'll go with the Galaxy. Luchasaurus does speak from time to time. Yeah, but when was the last time we heard him speak? I mean, from time to time. It's been a long time since we've heard him say anything on this show. But then again, he was gone for like a year. So anyway, Luchasaurus slammed Orion down, and they hit the assisted flipping powerbomb, and they got the win. That was it. It was a very quick squash win here for Jurassic Express. After the match was over, the Bucks ran in. They attacked Perry. They threw him into the barricade until Luchasaurus tried for a double choke slam, but he got kicked low. The Bucks hit a BTE trigger on Luchasaurus, and then they laid out Perry with a super kick. So they took the microphone. They told Perry, this is what they in the wrestling business call a callback. And they smashed the microphone into his ribs, which you will recall is the same thing that Jack Perry in this very building at Daly's place last year, the same thing that Jack Perry did to Tony Khan before they spiked Tony Khan on his head with the Meltzer driver. So the Bucks then officially challenged Jurassic Express to a match at Wrestle Dream before spiking Perry with the TK driver. And I shall tell you, because we got the graphic for it later on in the show, not only is the match official, but Tony Khan has given the Bucks what they wanted. They wanted this to be a money match because they lost all their money. So this match at Wrestle Dream is a $500,000 tag team match. Hey, you know what? At least they're finally incorporating the money aspect of it. Like they're looping it in like a storyline way that actually kind of makes sense. That's a plus. It's not just a random $500,000 match. In this case, it actually makes sense. They showed the Death Riders out back in the parking lot. Pac called out Tangerine Balls, Orange Cassidy, calling him a pipsqueak. He was going to whet his appetite and do to him what he always does, which is make him suffer. Speaking of suffering, we heard from Wheeler Yuta up next. He said that tonight it's going to hurt him almost as much as it hurts Orange Cassidy because tonight it's time to trim the fat. No losers, which is rich. I mean, that's very rich coming from Wheeler Yuta. Speaking of which, we heard from Daniel Garcia next. And Daniel Garcia said that they're going to keep winning, as that's what winners do. Yes, that's what winners do, everybody, says the man who, had to be within the last couple of months, came out on Dynamite and cut a promo that said, who hasn't beaten Daniel Garcia? I have that as one of the sound bites in my intro to the Sound Off every week. And this guy's coming out here talking about winners. Be a break. It'd be like having one of the Mets go do an interview on ESPN talking about winners. Go to Cancun. Enjoy your vacation. We had the Battle of the Kyles. Kyle Fletcher defending his TNT championship against Kyle O'Reilly. You got two good wrestlers out there. They went out there and they had a good wrestling match. No surprise there. No drama either. The action spilled outside pretty quickly. O'Reilly sent Fletcher into a chair that was set up near the barricade. He then delivered a shotgun drop kick from the apron. O'Reilly missed a knee drop from the second rope back inside. Fletcher then sent O'Reilly... God, there's a fucking mosquito in here. This is the problem when you're in like mid-October almost. Well, we're not mid-October yet, but we're in October. It was 80 degrees the other day. I'm still being bitten by mosquitoes. Went outside the other day. I got bitten by a mosquito. It's fucking October. Why are there mosquitoes still around? Son of a bitch. What is this, Florida? What's going on here? Bring on the cold weather. I'm ready. Where's that cool, crisp fall weather? You know, as you head into Halloween, the leaves are falling, that chill is in the air. Fucking 80 degrees the other day. Was sweating my balls off. Anyway, O'Reilly missed a knee drop from the second rope back in the ring. Fletcher then sent O'Reilly headfirst into the turnbuckle like a lawn dart. After some reversals, O'Reilly picked the ankle of Fletcher. He tripped him. He delivered a knee to the back of the head for a near fall. He applied an ankle lock. Fletcher, though, quickly reversed out and landed a brainbuster. And he followed up with a running kick and a second brainbuster for the win. That's your condensed version here of this match. Yes, I know. Wasps, mosquitoes, and what's next? Bees. Yeah, I'll be the only guy in December fighting with bees. That'll be the next thing. I actually saw a video. It's so sad because like on Instagram and TikTok and all this, it's sad because I honestly, it's to the point now where I don't know what's real and what's not. I don't know what's real and what's AI when it comes to some of these videos because they're so well done. Like it's very bad. I think it's a terrible thing. But there's a video, and I think it's real, where there's a woman, I guess, I don't know, she's sitting in her garage, I guess. I don't know where she's sitting, but you know, like the garage door is up, and then there's this thing on the floor. It's not a bug. I mean, if it's a bug, it's the biggest bug I've ever seen. And she's like, "What the fuck is that?" She's got like this accent, and whatever this thing is, it raises as she gets closer, like it raises its arms. And then in the background, they play this great like classical dramatic music, you know, like "Thou Shall Not Pass." I'm like, what the fuck is that thing? And then there were people saying it's like a crayfish or something. It was the funniest thing because it just threw its hands up in the air. Like it might be a defense mechanism, maybe, you know, against prey if they get too close. And she's freaking out, even though she's probably twice the size of this thing. But I'm like, my God, like what the hell is that? I'm going to end up finding one of those in here soon. I'm going to go walk into my kitchen. The fucking crayfish is going to throw his hands up in the air and I'm going to fucking shit myself. Man. Then I saw another video. It's like a daddy long legs. This giant spider is walking along and there's somebody playing some music, like dropping a sick beat. And all of a sudden the spider stops and the spider is bouncing up and down. Like he's vibing to the song. And I swear to God, all of a sudden, one of his little legs, I swear to you, one of his arms, he's going like this. It was like the most amazing thing. And again, I'm watching this going, is this real? I want to believe it's real, but I don't know anymore. I don't know what's real and what's not. I hate this. I really hate it. This shit has to be regulated. This is going to a very bad place. So Kyle Fletcher retains the TNT Championship to the surprise of absolutely nobody. And after the match was over, Lance Archer attacked O'Reilly. Mark Briscoe ran out to make the save. And at that point, Fletcher retreated. The only bad thing to say about this is that O'Reilly obviously had no chance of winning this, so it killed any sort of drama here. So, you know, you got some good wrestling from these two. It's like, all right, whatever. I've seen Kyle Fletcher have better matches. We get great matches on these shows every week. There was really nothing compelling to this. You know, this was a collision match, only it was on Dynamite. Where do you see Kyle O'Reilly most of the time? Collision. You know what was really sad? We had one women's match on this show tonight. On the poster for Dynamite, they had all these different people, right? The Homecoming, Jacksonville, all of these different people. One woman on the entire poster, Mercedes Moné. Which made sense because she was the only match on the show. And then there's the Collision Homecoming poster, and like all the women are like relegated to Collision. Is Collision where all the women go now? Is that just like the de facto women's show now? I was amazed. Like Dynamite is supposed to be your A show, and this is your big homecoming, and they advertise one woman for the entire show. So after a break, Renee informed Fletcher and Callis in the back that at Wrestle Dream, it's going to be Mark Briscoe challenging for the TNT Championship. So now we know what Mark Briscoe is going to be doing next. He is indeed going for the TNT title. Mercedes Moné, speaking of which, she put her TBS Championship on the line in an open challenge. The only thing we knew was that she was going to defend her title against someone from the state of Florida. That, you know, didn't really narrow it down very well. But there was somebody, remember on the stream last week, I said there was somebody who made mention of Lacey Lane, the former Caden Carter. And she had just wrestled recently, I think, for Ring of Honor. Might it be her? Well, guess what? It turned out to be Lacey Lane, who is from Florida. I think she's from Winter Park. And it turned out to be her. And they even aired a very quick vignette with her, with comments from her before the match started, where she said that her and Mercedes had a chance to cross paths in the past, but they never did. Tonight, that changes in her hometown. So there were some early pin attempts from Lacey. Monet floated over in the corner, but missed a crossbody. There was a rolling cradle by Lane for another 2 count until a springing dropkick sent Monet outside. Lane met her with a baseball slide, and Monet went to the apron, tried to suplex to the floor, but she got hung up by Lacey, followed with a heat seeker variation for a near fall, and Monet got her foot on the ropes, and that took us into the commercial break. I swear to God, I'm going to fucking kill this thing. You saw what Darby did at the end of the show tonight? Okay, we're gonna elevate this. We're gonna amp this up by a few degrees here, because if this thing lands in one spot and I have the chance to get it, there will be death tonight. There will be death. I'm gonna get him. It's just a matter of, how do I torture him? Do I rip his legs off? Do I rip his wings off? What do I do? I'm going to leave it to the chat. What do you think I should do? I'll leave it up to you, because this is really getting on my nerves now. So Monet gained the advantage during the commercial break. She planted Lacey with the 3 amigos before going up top, trying a frog splash. Lacey got the knees up. Monet missed double knees in the corner, which allowed Lacey to hit a running thrust kick. And Monet answered with a lung blower and a sunset bomb for 2. Or a sunset bomb into the buckles. Then she went for the double. She loves those double knees. Mercedes loves those meteoras. But this one did not pay off. Lacey answered with a springboard leg drop and a hammerlock flatliner for a near fall. Lane wanted the hammerlock again, and that was to her downfall because Mercedes scrambled. She traded pin attempts with her, and then she managed a Monet maker, and she got the win. You know, look, I thought Lacey looked fine here in this match. I'd like to see her get more opportunities. I think she's certainly a competent wrestler who deserves a shot. I'd like to see what she could do. She could be a solid addition here to the women's division, but I mean, again, we knew what this was going to be, and that's what it was. And I can't for the life of me tell you who I think is going to be lined up next, for Mercedes. But what I can tell you is I believe Friday. I believe we're only a couple days away from her tying and breaking Jade Cargill's record as the longest reigning TBS champion of all time. I think it happens at the end of this week. Heel Solo. Am I really, though, a heel? Does anybody like mosquitoes? Do they serve any real purpose? They carry disease. They don't really serve any purpose that is beneficial to me. Therefore, it must die. I really don't have an issue with them, but once they enter my territory here and they start annoying me, I'm sorry. You must go. That's just the way. Those are the rules. Once you trespass, there's nothing I can do. So we had the AEW Tag Team Champions Brody King and Bandito, who had his shoulder all wrapped up because supposedly his shoulder had popped out during a match with Hechicero in CMLL on Friday night. And inexplicably, Tony Khan said that he checked with Bandito and Bandito really wanted to wrestle, so he was going to let him wrestle. Apparently, that's all it takes. If the wrestler wants to wrestle, it's like, well, gee golly, okay, I guess we'll let him wrestle. So it's like, okay, doesn't seem like a wise move if he really did hurt his shoulder, but all right, I guess the match is still on. So this match here was not for the AEW tag team titles, but they wrestled Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita, and this was a double Jeopardy eliminator. If Bandito and Brody won the match, the winner of the match, whoever got the winning fall, would challenge Okada for the Unified Championship at Wrestle Dream. If Okada and Takeshita won the match, they would get a tag team. I swear to God, I'm going to kill you. They would get a tag team championship match at Wrestle Dream against Brodito. So those were the rules here. Okay, those were the rules for this match. Takeshita is posing on stage. He got cut off by Okada, who walked out and just blew right past him, already stealing his thunder here in this match. Takeshita went right after Bandito's bad arm. King tagged in. He laid out Okada with a running senton before lighting him up with chops. We got a huge splash in the corner that led to Okada dodging a second one, and Takeshita decked Brody with a big boot and a DDT on the apron. And for good measure, Okada hit a DDT of his own, and they went to a break. Okada and Takeshita were nose to nose. Okay, they were going face to face, these two. King was worn down the entire break. They come back, though, with King firing off some desperation back suplexes on both heels. Mowed them both down with a lariat. Bandito recovered enough to make the hot tag. We got a springboard crossbody to Okada that led to a series of pin attempts. Okada slowed the momentum a little bit. Bandito, though, still planted him with a stalling suplex. And King sent Takeshita packing. Okada was spiked with a running PK into Dante's Inferno. Takeshita, though, narrowly made the save. And Takeshita got ping-ponged with some forearm strikes until Brody laid him out with a black hole slam. So Brodito was signaling for their monkey flip 450. Okada put a stop to that. Bandito countered a raging fire into an inside cradle. Takeshita was up, and he went for another charging knee, but he caught Okada on the apron instead. And Bandito, he, with one arm, still hit the X knee, and then went for the 21 plex. He couldn't hit it properly, though, just with the one arm. And that gave Takeshita a chance to hit a Poison Rana. And as Takeshita wanted the power drive knee, Okada stole the tag. And he turned Bandito inside out with one Rainmaker is all it took. And he got the pin to win the match for the Callis family, which means that at Wrestle Dream, it will be Okada and Takeshita challenging for the AEW Tag Team Championships against Brody King and Bandito. So the tension continues to build between Okada and Takeshita. They're doing the slow burn, and I hope the reason for that is that they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting for the Continental Classic, which is not that far away. I mean, normally the Continental Classic will start in about 5 or 6 weeks, right? Like mid-November, maybe like right after Full Gear. And it just makes all the sense in the world to me to have, as predictable as it may be, it makes all the sense in the world story-wise to build to that tournament, and you have the two of them butt heads in the finals. And that's where Takeshita gets that win over Okada. To me, that's where you do it. So you might even be able to give them a quick tag team title run here. I mean, it would have to be awfully quick if the idea would be to get the belts off them before then. So I don't know if that's something they want to do. I wouldn't mind seeing Okada and Takeshita have even a short run as the tag team champions. And if Bandito really is legitimately injured, and I mean, he certainly didn't look like, outside of what he was selling, he didn't look like somebody who was too terribly injured here in this match. I mean, he looked fine. But if let's say it's a legitimate injury and they did want to give him a little bit of time off, all the more reason to do a title change, on that show. I'm not necessarily convinced, though, that the injury is legit. Now, Renee was in the back a little bit later on with the tag champs, and Bandito was very dejected. He didn't want to make any excuses for what happened. He blamed himself. And King said he's always told him to never stop fighting, and come Wrestle Dream, it doesn't matter if they have two of the best wrestlers in the business in the ring with them. Bandito, he named him. He said Brodito has the best wrestler, implying Bandito, obviously, is the best wrestler. And they will stand tall at the pay-per-view. So again, I don't know if the injury is legit. I feel like it is, but I was watching this and it fit well enough into the story of the match where I started to wonder if maybe the whole shoulder popping out thing was legit. Whether it is or not, evidently he's not going to miss any time. He did the match tonight, and they're going to defend the titles at Wrestle Dream. And what we got tonight was just a taste of what these guys can do. So I enjoyed this match. This was, a very good match, but it's not the match we're going to see at Wrestle Dream. This was a small percentage of what they're going to go out there and do a Wrestle Dream. So I'm looking forward to that. And they closed with Pac His first match since April. Remember that match with Swerve Strickland on Dynamite? I've never, in all the years I've seen this man wrestle, I've never heard him scream in agony. So I remember that. I remember vividly in that match. Excuse me. I remember him in the corner. I think it was a buckle bomb, and the way he landed, the shrieks of horror that came out of him. And I'm like, man, that's tough. If he's screaming like that, that's tough. So anyway, he's back now. He's back now. I'm dying over here. I think I swallowed the mosquito. Oh my God. I think I got him. Good. Fuck him. Oh man. Good. I think I swallowed him. What could happen? I don't know. Hopefully he wasn't carrying any kind of wicked disease. Let him burn in the juices of my esophagus. There you go. Fuck him. It's funny. I was polling all of you before and saying, what should I do if I catch him? Should I rip his legs off? Should I rip his wings off? I wasn't actually predicting a fate like that. That's even worse. The mosquito crop dusted with pollen. Oh man. Anyway, let's get through this main event. It was Pac against Orange Cassidy, his old rival. They've had many matches back in the day. I don't know how many, but it's been a while since we've seen. It's been a West Nile solo. Don't say that. I remember years ago, they literally would have the planes flying overhead, and they would just spray. They would have these mass spraying sessions for West Nile when it was really bad. They haven't done that in a while. But there is, out back, there's a lot of people that have pools that haven't been used in years. I don't know why they don't just drain the fucking things. They'll just put a cover over it, and then as the season goes on and it rains and everything, there's this pool of water on top of the cover, and it's like a breeding ground for these things. And it just drives me nuts that people don't take better care of their pool, especially if they're not being used, because mosquitoes thrive on that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they're all coming from. Now, Pac comes out here, and I said it was weird enough seeing Pac with the shorter hair and wearing a shirt, because that's very unlike him. Well, now he's coming out, and he's got the shorter haircut, but he's wearing a singlet. And he's in phenomenal shape. I mean, it's not like he's trying to cover up his body because he's not in great physical condition, like fucking Macho Man. When he started wearing the tops back in the day, he wasn't doing what he used to be doing, so his physique took a hit, so he had to dress up differently. Pac is in phenomenal shape, but now he's elected to wear, it's like Christopher Daniels. He's like wearing this singlet now. So he looks like a totally different person. But Pac slowly took his time. He was ragdolling Cassidy, who tried the little kicks, the weak kicks. Pac, though, wasn't having any of that. So they ended up outside, where Pac caught Cassidy mid-dive into a Falcon Arrow on the floor. So they went to commercial break. And Pac connected with a huge drop kick out of the corner, started toying with Cassidy, who started to slowly fire up. And he was absorbing some shots. Cassidy tried beach break. Pac escaped. Cassidy, though, connected with a PK, sending Pac outside again. Cassidy tried his tope DDT. Pac, though, caught him. Only this time Cassidy countered into a Stun Dog Millionaire. Third time's a charm. He goes for his tope DDT, and he spikes Pac on the floor. So he placed Pac on the timekeeper's table. Cassidy goes back to the ring. He climbs up to the top rope. He puts his hands in his pockets, and he goes diving off. Hands in pockets. And he crashes through the table, which was a hell of a spot there. I mean, that's got to be unnerving, though, like just naturally. You want your hands out to brace your fall. Now imagine you're standing up there and you put your hands in your pockets and then you just dive off. And you're hoping that you can position your body in such a way where you don't have your hands to brace your fall. So you're basically relying on your shoulder and the person you're landing on to break your fall and not break your fucking shoulder. It's a little bit scary. But he put him to the table. So back inside, a spinning DDT planted Pac. Cassidy kicked up, and then he waffled him with the orange punch. Pac, though, got his foot on the rope before the referee could count 3. Cassidy went up top. Pac, though, took a page out of Cassidy's playbook, and he slow rolled to the other side of the ring to avoid the move. He rolled out onto the stage. Cassidy went after Pac into the crowd. Pac, though, suckered him in and gave him a tombstone pile driver. And they're in the crowd, right? You know, if you know Daly's place, it's like that little crowd. It's not like a lot of people, but gave him a tombstone pile driver over there. The Bryce Remsburg rushed out to go check on Cassidy, and Pac ordered him back to the ring to go put the count on him. I don't know why Bryce's voice at this point, when he spoke, it made him sound like a Muppet. I don't know why. I mean, maybe that's how he always sounds. So anyway, his attention is diverted, and Pac is standing there, and Pac finds that his ankle is suddenly cuffed to the railing over there. And then if you look down below is Darby Allin. You can see the face paint. So Darby Allin has handcuffed, I mean, I guess foot cuffed Pac here to this railing. So he's trying to free himself so that he can get back into the ring before the referee, hits the 10 count. And the referee gets up to a count of about 7 or so, and he frees himself. Yes, he broke free from the cuffs like he's Jacob Fatu at SummerSlam. And that was pretty dumb, too, the way that whole thing played out. But he dove back into the ring at the count of 9, barely made it back in, but when he rolled in, he rolled right into a Cazadora pinning combination by Orange Cassidy, who got the 3, and he beats Pac. So after the match is over, Darby Allin he's staring Pac down. He's on the stage, and he's staring this man down, and Pac obviously is not happy about Darby costing him the match. So he goes out after him. He sprints towards Darby, and Darby is ready. And Darby has pepper spray. So he blinds Pac with the pepper spray. And then Wheeler Yuta shows up. And so what does Darby do? He pulls out a taser. So now we have pepper spray. We have a taser. Jon Moxley, Claudio, Daniel Garcia, Marina Shafir, they hit ringside. They're trying to chase after Darby. But Darby is ready. Darby has a bottle and a little towel or rag or whatever the hell was in it. And he's got a lighter. And he is about to light this thing up and create a Molotov cocktail. Pepper spray. Right? Pepper spray, taser, Molotov cocktail. I feel like I'm playing a video game here. This is completely ridiculous. I mean, it's Darby Allin, so of course it's going to be ridiculous. But he is about to set this thing ablaze. And all of a sudden, right, this security, I'm not even going to call him a security geek. I will never call them security geeks again if they act like this guy. This security guard comes diving in out of nowhere, and he tackles Darby to the ground before he could set fire to this thing and light up the Molotov cocktail. Like, he actually did his job. He's like a fucking Secret Service agent diving and taking this man down to the ground. And then the other security guards are holding back the members of the Death Riders, and the show ended with Darby laughing maniacally as he was being detained. The main event itself was good. It was a good match that they had. The stuff that came after was very goofy. Again, the pepper spray and the taser and the Molotov cocktail, and I could just imagine what this I Quit match is going to look like at Wrestle Dream. We saw the match. They had it all out. What the fuck do you think they're going to do at Wrestle Dream? if he's already bringing out weapons like this here on this show. I mean, that match is going to be ridiculous, but it's going to be ridiculous in the worst possible way. So this was all very silly here at the end, but again, we got three pretty good matches here on this show. And the opening segment, I thought the opening segment was good, but again, pretty basic stuff as far as how we got here with Hangman and Joe. That being the main event, that being the big title match coming up at Wrestle Dream. And then there was a bunch of stuff on the show that was fun. It was okay, but I didn't really care much about it. So a bit of a mixed bag, but on the whole, it was a good show. Both shows tonight were good. Again, I preferred the NXT show a little bit more, but I thought both shows were good. I got polls up for both shows. So let's take a look at the NXT one first. What did you think of NXT Showdown with TNA? 74.3% thumbs up, 25.7% thumbs down. So 74-25. That is the score for the NXT show. Let's take a look now at the AEW poll. What did you think of Dynamite Title Tuesday? 45% thumbs up, 55% thumbs down. So a very different score. Obviously, the NXT TNA show wins the night here, at least as far as these polls are concerned. But that's X. Those are the X polls. You know how that goes. All right, let's get to your super chats. We are at 300 and where are we at? 373 likes. Again, we got to get to a minimum 400 here. Someone is quitting while on fire. Yeah, there have been plenty of teases about fire. So I think it's a safe. That's why I thought they were going to have like an Inferno match or something. So I think it's a safe bet that somebody is going to be set on fire at Wrestle Dream. Or at least that's going to be the threat. All right, let's go through these super chats here. We're starting out with Death Scythe. Look at that. Death Scythe actually beat Joseph to the punch tonight as the first super chatter. It's got a bunch of messages here. Said, I liked your jealousy idea for a Roman Jacob match. And I was thinking at the Royal Rumble, Fatu eliminates Roman. And then Roman is livid. He pulls a Hogan. He grabs Fatu, and then Jacob is dumped out by the winner of the Royal Rumble. So Roman Reigns ends up being a big whiny baby. I mean, if he allows his emotions to get the better of him, sure. He says, then at the Elimination Chamber, Jacob is about to win the chamber, but Roman pulls a Shawn Michaels and costs him the match. Then Jacob challenges Roman to a match at WrestleMania. Roman refuses and says, as you say, Jacob, let's keep it 100. Actually, he says it a little bit differently. Let's keep it 100. Your Le Mamoa Ululi Ole Aiga, the black sheep of the family. How do you know that? The stain on our dynasty, the heart rot on our family tree, and Sami Zayn is more Anoa'i than you will ever be. So Fatu has to beat random bloodline members. Oh God, as if we haven't done this before. And once Roman agrees, and he then gives Fatu his own version of the Look at You Now segment to get heat. It's not a bad idea. I mean, the way you've set it up here, it's not bad. That's why I said, like, if I had to construct a story of how do we get there, how do we get these two men in a WrestleMania match, I think, it should stem from some sort of jealousy on the part of Roman Reigns. And, if anybody is going to be a heel or more heelish going into that match, that should be Roman, not Jacob. So, I mean, that idea could work. Joseph Stewart, I really hope I'll be able to start a Batman podcast one day. I think you'll be great at it, Joseph. You've already got the number one thing is having a passion for something. You obviously already have that. I really hope I'll be able to start a Batman podcast one day. What are the steps to start a podcast, and any advice on how to do a podcast? Well, like I said, you need to have a passion for what you're talking about. And not just one time, but if you're going to do it on a weekly basis or multiple times a week, you have to be able to throw yourself into it. It's hard to do that if you're talking about something that you don't really care about. So you've already got that down. Consistency is very important, though. It has to be something that you're going to do on a regular basis. If you really want to build an audience, it's the only way. It's the only way. If you're very off and on, hit or miss, you do one, you miss 2 weeks, you're going to fail. It's not going to work. So that's a very important aspect that some people don't think about. It's a time commitment, and if you're not willing to put the time into it, then you shouldn't be doing it. But you don't really have to break the bank on equipment. I mean, you could start out, with a basic USB microphone. You don't even have to be on camera. It's very easy to start. It's harder to build an audience and find your voice and be successful at it. Have you seen the unreleased Fantastic Four movie from 1994 directed by Roger Corman? No. No, I have not. Buy or sell the Fantastic Four or the X-Men? The X-Men. Thinking about making a comic book series of Dominic Mysterio as the hero and Uncle Howdy as the villain and Liv Morgan as Dom's love interest. I think that sounds like an interesting idea. Have you done comics before? Do you think we will get a Dominic Mysterio versus Uncle Howdy match down the road? I don't. I mean, they're not even on the same brand right now. If you were asked to cast Harley Quinn in a brand new Tim Burton Batman movie in the 90s, who would you cast as Harley Quinn at the time? Brother, I don't even remember who all of the famous actresses were back in the 90s, outside of a handful. I thought you were going to say now. I would say I think Liv Morgan could play a good Harley Quinn. But back then, Liv Morgan was Liv Morgan alive back then? My God. Was Liv Morgan even alive back in the 90s? Yeah, she was, right? But when would she have been born? She was probably born in the late 90s. What is she, 28? 28, 29? Yeah. She's probably born around 96, 97. Harley Cameron as Harley Quinn. Nah, Pamela Anderson. I don't think that's good casting for that role. Yeah, I would say Alexa Bliss, but I'm pretty sure Alexa Bliss was probably like 6 years old back then, so. You want to have a young Harley Quinn, I guess that could work. Have you seen the Sylvester Stallone movie Judge Dredd? No, never saw it. Believe it or not, never saw Judge Dredd, never saw Demolition Man. Do you remember Batman villain Killer Croc? Yes, I do. I think they could have swapped out Bane in Batman and Robin for Killer Croc if they wanted to. Do you think Jacob Fott 2 will have a career as an actor in Hollywood? I don't. I think some people are sort of destined to do that. I don't know. I don't see that in his future. Do you remember Batman villain the Mad Hatter? I do remember him, yes. I do. Kind of reminded me of that guy from Willy Wonka. Are you going to see The Rock's new movie? I am not. Victor, do you consider Mr. Backlund's heel run underrated? I don't think underrated is the right word for it. I think not enough people know about it, but I think the people who watched it and lived through it, I think they rate it pretty highly. So I don't know if underrated is really the right word for it. Victor says, buy or sell Ric Flair 80s or Shawn Michaels 90s? Ric Flair 80s. And top 5 best and worst years of the WWE product. I don't know about top 5, but 1995 is, if it's not the worst, it's definitely in the bottom tier. There was some good stuff, but not nearly enough good stuff. And then also I look at like 2018. I mean, there were some years in that late 2010s period where it got pretty bad. In terms of best, though, I mean, to me, honestly, you know, obviously the golden era, right? You think of the golden era, you think of the late 80s. 1997 is probably, it's 97 and 2000, I think, are two of the top years in the history of the company. 97 was a very pivotal, like, turning point year. And if you go back and watch the product from 97, especially what was going on at the top of the card, I don't think anything right now compares to what was going on back then. Like, I'm sorry. Nothing compares to it. Deathside says, also, I was thinking at either Raw in Boston or MSG, John Cena could call out Jacob Fatu at the start of the show. After all, he name-dropped him during his program with Logan Paul. Yeah, but I don't see why John Cena would call anybody out. John Cena's made it very clear he doesn't lobby for opponents, and he's never lobbied for one in character on TV either. So he's just going to randomly come out and say, Jacob Fatu, I want you. It just doesn't make sense. Like, the setup to that doesn't really make sense. He says, as someone he wanted to wrestle, Jacob accepts, and in the main event of the show, towards the end of the match, there's a referee bump. Fatu has Cena down for the 3 count, then Drew lays out Fatu and drags Cena's unconscious body on top of Jacob for the referee to count the 3 on Jacob. I see what you're trying to do there, but I'm not a fan of that setup. I just don't think it works. I think I wouldn't loop Cena into that. Super Mario Galaxy, Sonic 4, Avengers, Secret Wars, and The Legend of Zelda movies are all coming out in 2027. Can we just skip 2026, please? See, you could tell that you grew up in an era with like the best video games, because how many years has it been since those first games came out? And they're making movies about them? They're making a Legend of Zelda movie? GMB with the $4.99 solo. I know you've been wanting a Bianca heel run. However, I get the vibes that she is against it. Lashley even noted this on a podcast last year. What are your thoughts? She may well be against it. You know, it may be something that she doesn't want to do. I have never heard her explicitly say that, though. But it's possible. I still feel like she's got a really good heel run in her. If she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't want to do it. But I hope she does at some point. Bobbert reviews with the $69. Thank you, Bobbert. Appreciate that. Terrence Thompson, shout out from Akron. Love the show. Shout out to Terrence. And shout out to Akron. Got an email from somebody in Akron a few months ago So you're not the only Sound Off fan in Akron. Brandon Proctor with the 15. Brother Solo. Asuka is not happy. Yeah. Don't know why. Maybe the old school elimination match is happening in NXT is a sign that we might get more eventually on the main roster. No, I think it's just Shawn Michaels doing his own thing. But, you know, maybe Triple H sees it and maybe, you know, he'll resurrect it. You know, he can have one for the men and one for the women. It's always possible. We got Super Hot Vector Man. If AEW and TNA do compete, who would win in the end? AEW and TNA? AEW. Their roster, their bench is much deeper than TNA's. Got some of the best wrestlers in the world in that company. Mr. Rod with the 5 had a friend of mine say last week the Don Callis family has become the AEW version of the NWO. I strongly agree. Well, except the NWO made money, so it's a big difference there. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett. If you guys doubted the Hardys, you're a fool. I said coming into the show they were going to win those belts. I never doubted they were going to win. Mr. Rod says, first off, happy belated birthday. Hope it was great. Second, Page against Ali was what they call cinema. Amazing match. It was the match of the night. Match of the night on either show right there. We got Boots with the 10. WWE's YouTube channel uploaded a 5-minute, 30-second video of nothing but Stephanie Vicare's Devil's Kiss. Took me 22 minutes to watch it because I was watching it in 0.25 speed for research purposes. I see Boots really had himself a free day today. I wish I had a free day like that. Not this week, I don't. Sidro says, why was the pudding sad and half his old self? Because his parents divorced and got split custody. Now, what do you call a woman that sets her taxes on fire? Bernadette. Heard that one on TNT a couple weeks ago. Very clever. It is a clever one. But I have heard that one before. Sidro says, you would think finding your lost luggage in an airport would be easy. That's not the case. And the doctor said I need to replace my spine. I was set to get one, but later the doctor found that all spines are on permanent back order. Sidro says, what do you get if you cross a tree and a dog? God, lots of bark. And did you hear about the testicular cancer survivor who won the lottery? When he found out, he went nuts. He went nuts, he said. I like the bark one. The bark one is kind of clever. Although I think the lost luggage one is my favorite. Ragnarok, once upon a time, a Knockouts team would have Taylor Wilde, The Beautiful People, Tara or Tara? Tara. Daphne, Awesome Kong, or ODB. This was NXT versus NXT. And brother, the majority of it was NXT against NXT. I said the entire women's team is made up of people that really are not... They're more associated with WWE or NXT than they are with TNA. That's sad. That they couldn't find one person Tuxedo T Servo, belated happy birthday. A year older, a year wiser. I like to think so. Thank you, Tuxedo. I saw your email before, part of it, before I started working tonight. I hope you're doing well. Wrestling Russ. Sorry, late tonight. Got that bug. I am got that bug. You have a bug? I have my own bug I'm dealing with here. But it might be different from your bug. I hope you're not sick. I am continuing to pray for you and your family. I wish you well, brother. Russ, I appreciate that very much. Thank you for the 10 spot. Thank you for the kind words. MGM Ballin with the $9.99. Aaron Judge finally had his signature playoff moment. Yeah, I saw that. He tied that game up, and then they went up 7-6, and I didn't see what happened after that. So I hope they won, because if they lost, that's going to be pretty bad. I'm assuming they won. What would Powerhouse Hobbs call it if he did Mercedes' double knee move? Meteora. Sorry, Solo. Here's to be the booker. The Meteora. It's not bad. It's not bad. That's something Sidra would say. And then we have, I mean, we talk about Gunther. When we get the Gunther bombs, we gotta do.
Holy shit!
We gotta do that here for this guy right here, Osukwe, earlier tonight, with a $400. That is just a, I don't know what that is. That's a nuclear bomb, is what that is. And again, we read his message earlier, but I just wanted to show him some more love here, Osukwe. You're still with us. Thank you, brother. It means a lot. Ugh. That's a creepy image. There's Vince McMahon, everybody.
I want to play a game, Dr. Gordon. Would you like to play a game, Dr. Gordon?
Duff's Vids with a $9.99. Showing some love. Thank you, Duffs. Barry MK 400. Really had hope that it was going to be Izzy Moreno facing Mercedes. I've seen a lot of her matches. She's done good so far. Could have been huge for her. That would have been interesting. I didn't find out until the other day. Apparently I'm blocked. No idea why. You'd be surprised how long that list is. Thank you, Barry. We got MacTub. As a Dean Ambrose fan who never watched him in AEW, what feuds, segments, or matches would you recommend? Buy or sell? WWE Dean or AEW Moxley? You know, I've really not been much of a fan of a lot of what Moxley has done this year. Prior to this, though, and I was it last year? It was 2 years ago, maybe. 2 or 3 years ago. He was the MVP, you know. I mean, Tony Khan always fell back on him when there was controversy, when there was an injury. You know, Moxley in many ways was his security blanket. You know, he was that old reliable hand who had a name that he could fall back on and put his world title on if he had to. And he has had some really good matches, you know, with Bryan Danielson and Lance Archer many years ago, and Kenny Omega. I don't know if I have, you know, it's funny. I don't know if I have like one Jon Moxley match that's my personal, like, all-time AEW favorite. But definitely, you know, I would say check out that match he had with Danielson. God, was it Revolution? Might have been Revolution a few years ago. So anyway, between, you know, WWE Ambrose and AEW Moxley, having said what I said about his stuff this year, which I'm not really a big fan of. I still got to go AEW Moxley because he's been so much more important to this company. And he's come across as a bigger star, you know, than he did in the Ambrose role. Any angle or match that made you cry? For me, it was Cody and Dustin. Yeah, it was the reunion of the Macho Man and Elizabeth. WrestleMania 7. Brings a tear to my eye every time. And then there were other angles and matches that made me cry for very different reasons. Too many to name. Yeah, Moxley in Japan. Moxley went through that period where he was in Japan. He had some matches there. Yeah, I mean, I got to go Moxley over Ambrose on the whole. Hey, B Money, what's going on? Plus Ultra Adrian says happy belated birthday, Solo. Thank you, Adrian. Adrian joining in on the party here. Base Beerus says Wednesday Night Titans. Yes. We're flipping the 2 days. Also, Yankees went from 1-6 to 9-6. Okay, so I guess they won. And Sidra, why do zombies love eating human skin? Oh my God. It's refreshing, he said.
Go fuck yourself!
Oh, wait. That wasn't what I meant to hit. I was going to hit this. Oh man, we got really harsh there with Sidro. I hit the wrong button. It wasn't that bad. I mean, the joke was bad, but it wasn't that bad, Mike. Oh man. Oh boy, how did that happen? Anyway, hey, sometimes, you know, that's the way it goes. Sometimes you just hit the wrong button. 414 likes, so there you go. We hit both goals. we hit both goals. All right. So that means we're doing double B the Booker here. Let's dive into it here before I fuck up again.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Oh. I've heard worse jokes that would deserve that. That's not one of them. May says, no, that was the appropriate reaction. All right. Tag team, boy, we had a harsh chat here. He says, nah, you had it right. Boomerang says, you've had it right. Look at this, I'm crying here. All right. We have Alpha Academy is kicking us off here. Tag team Be the Booker, Chad Gable and Otis. I do miss Chad Gable on TV. Chad Gable and Otis against The Shield. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I have a feeling this right here may be your WrestleMania 42 main event. Get ready. See, tell me those belts are not far superior to any of the tag team titles that they've used in the last 25 years. Why did they just update this design? These belts are so much better. Women's Be the Booker. We have Natalya. Taking on Mercedes Moné. Well, it's too bad she didn't answer the open challenge tonight. I think she's residing in Florida these days. She could have been the Florida woman that Mercedes was looking for in the open challenge. Yeah, Triple H has let Natty work Bloodsport, GCW, I think, and NWA. Man, I guess he turned down the request for her to work AEW. I'm shocked. And our main event. Be the Booker is over. Oh no, after the Wyatt Six massacred the roster. Oh no. Oh no. Blame the Wyatts. Blame the Wyatts, everybody. They massacred the entire roster. We have lost our Be the Booker main event. That's the bad news. The good news is that does not affect the bonus round that was unlocked, which means we're not done yet. We lost our main event. We can't get that back. There's nothing we can do there. But we are still doing our bonus round. We do not lose the bonus round. So. All right, we're going to kick things off here with an I Quit match. Jon Moxley and Darby Allin going to be having one of these here in a few weeks. I Quit. Not me. That's the stipulation. We got I Quit tag team match. If I tell you what, if I land on the Wyatts again, then that's going to be it. Those are the rules. So you better hope we don't land on them. We got Pretty Deadly, Kit Wilson and Elton Prince in an I Quit tag team match against the British Bulldog. Hey, look at that. Two British teams. Two British teams in an I Quit match. Can you do tag team I Quit? Of course you can. If one member of the team quits, that's it. The match is over. Of course you can do it. Oh. It's our friend Vince Russo, bro. We have an on a pole match, bro. I got a great idea, bro. We're going to put something on a pole. It doesn't matter what it is, bro. You can have a piñata on a pole filled with Viagra, bro. The women's match is going to be a pole match. Not the best stipulation. And we have to decide, what are we putting on this pole? We have Victoria. Somebody mentioned Tara from TNA. I believe she's going to be inducting Mickie James into the TNA Hall of Fame this weekend. I don't know how Victoria is not in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's another issue. We got Victoria going to go one-on-one with Tiffany Stratton. And another era. Tiffany Stratton now against Victoria from her peak run there. Would have been a very good match. Oh, but this is on a pole. What are we putting on the pole? I don't know. I think they could still make it work. I think they could still make it work. All right, we lost our first main event. We cannot lose back-to-back main events. That cannot happen. Oh, my God. I wish we would lose this main event. A Punjabi prison match. You know, I booked myself in a Punjabi prison match once here. What is with these stipulations tonight? I'm kind of begging for the Wyatts now. We lost. Sidra says we lost. It's already a lost cause. We have the TNA World Champion. Trick Williams is going to be, I bet they didn't train him for that at the PC. Trick Williams is going to be in this Punjabi prison match. God help us. And he will be defending, I guess, that championship against Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston and Trick Williams in a Punjabi prison match. That is a very unsatisfying conclusion to be the booker here. The day after my birthday. I was hoping for a better outcome here. We'll have to try again next time. Stipulation ruined it, man. It ruined it. What can I say? Sidro says, bringing this gold joke back for you, Solo. FYI, gonorrhea would have been a good name for diarrhea medicine. I think that's my favorite. The first time I heard that, I lost it because it actually makes all the sense in the world. I could see why a company would not want to name their product gonorrhea. I understand why, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. B-Money04, have you seen the AI videos going around the past few days of Tupac, Biggie, and Eddie Guerrero, just to name it? Yeah, I saw the Benoit one. I hate them all. I really don't like them. It's just very unsettling. And I do wonder, in some of these cases, there was one that I saw with Kobe. And it looks just like him and it sounds just like him. And it just makes me wonder, like if you're a family member and you see this shit going around, like, I don't know, like it just doesn't sit well with me. It's just a very, it's a weird thing too, because I could see where, a technology like that for some people, like who maybe lost a loved one, I could see some people actually wanting to, like embrace that. It's like you're resurrecting them and bringing them back to life. Like on a personal level, I could see where maybe that could be something some people would like welcome. But like imagine you're one of their family members and like all over your fucking social media feed is this like AI video of your father who was, killed 10 years ago or something, and it's like plastered right there on your screen. It's like, I don't know. It's just very strange. So yeah, I saw all those videos and I don't like them. Sidro says, who named the planet Uranus? An astronomer. Death Scythe. Scariest movie of all time would be What Goes On in Vince McMahon's Head. How much alcohol would we need to get through it? Forget alcohol. I think we would need multiple therapy sessions to get through it. And Arabian Night 2000. Moose has done everything in TNA. He would be a good addition to WWE, maybe as an enforcer for Mello to start. I would have replaced Mara with an OG and Rosemary. Yeah, Rosemary. Rosemary would have been a good fit for that team. But yeah, Moose, I think Moose will end up in WWE. I think Moose, when he had that match with Oba back in March at Roadblock, I think that match probably more than any other really elevated his stock in the eyes of people in WWE. And I don't know what his contract situation is. Joe Hendry's contract is going to be up soon. He's got a deal waiting for him in WWE. If Moose's deal is up sometime next year, I would guess that he's WWE bound. Because like you said, he has spent a very long time in TNA. It feels like he's done all that he can do. They are about to very likely get a new television deal, so they're going to really need as many stars as they can muster. Maybe Moose would be one of those stars they would want to build around. But it does feel like he's done all he can do, and it's time for him to, move up to that next level. MGM Ballin', I don't know if my member chat came through. Oh, I haven't gone through them yet because they come up in a different window, so I have to look at them separately. So I'll bring those up. But he says, happy belated birthday, Solo. See you on Friday for HOG. I will see you there. There's going to be a lot of people in the building on Friday. We're 6 rows deep, and there's still some limited tickets on sale. We opened up some new stage seating, general admission. It's going to be a big night. MGM Ballin', yep, I see it right here. 15 months of membership. Thank you, MGM Ballin'. Can we expect a TNA and AAA invasion on the next WWE game? I wonder how that would work in terms of, do these wrestlers even get royalties anymore from these games? I used to hear about how lucrative the royalties were for the video games. I don't hear about that anymore. Under TKO, everything is so different. I don't even know how any of that works. You got Kevin Nash on his podcast talking about, his royalty checks are like half of what they used to be. And, Waltman, he was talking to Waltman. Waltman was saying the same thing. I don't know how that would work if you had wrestlers from other companies in your video game. I don't know. Will you go to the NXT show in November at the theater at Madison Square Garden? Probably not. What day is that? November? Is that November 18th? Is that the day after the Raw show at the Garden? Probably not. I can only imagine what those tickets will be worth. I will be working that night. That is what I will be doing. I will be working a lot later this week as well. Friday night, a little programming note. I will not be here. I will be at the House of Glory show. Saturday is Crown Jewel. 8 o'clock in the morning. I am thinking about going live mid-afternoon, maybe about 3 o'clock. I'll let you guys know. It will not be right after. It will not be immediately after the show is over. But it definitely will not be a late stream that night. But I will be live on Saturday afternoon for that. We have the podcast on Sunday. I'm probably going to be live after Bound for Glory on Sunday night. I covered Slammiversary. I think I'll do the same for Bound for Glory. So that is what's coming up. I do believe we are doing TNT in our normal time tomorrow. We're just flipping Tuesday for Wednesday this week only. So there's that and some good stuff. So if you missed the Raw post show, we had fun last night, 3 hours worth. Go back and check that out, as well as episode 932 of The Sound Off. The next time you see my face here live on this stream will be Saturday for Crown Jewel. Go check out my predictions for Crown Jewel. They're up on the channel as well. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you again for all of the birthday love. Osakwe, you are the man. All of you, thank you very much. And I'll see you back here real soon for more Sound Off on YouTube. Until then, take care, guys.